Good morning. I'm Greg Washington, President of Patients Unlimited Marketing Consultants. I and Kathy Watkins will be your presenters on this very important webinar that we've put together for you. A few words about Kathy. Kathy is a former Communications and Creative Director for Eastman Chemical, has a wonderful background in public relations and marketing as well as Internet technologies. I have the pleasure of introducing you now to two people that you did not know about until recently. Google Jr. Well, Google Jr. is actually Facebook. Facebook wants to be Google. In fact, Facebook, if you're watching what's happened in this new quest for them to get money to go public, they want to be the everyday site, the everything site, the all you want site. They really want to eliminate the need for Google. And of course, Google wants to be Facebook. And that's what this whole social media direction is all about. Google's answer in this war is plus, Google Plus. And they're looking at things in terms of, again, those social circles, your family, your affiliates, and your associates, and they're breaking this into, they call them circles. The top changes that you want to focus on are really in only two areas. Everyone wants to be on the first page, but yet there's 1 trillion indexed pages on the internet according to Google. That's information that's 2 years old. So apparently that number has grown. If there are 10 results to each page, then there's 20 possibilities of finding a URL or finding a website or finding a web page. That is going to now be diluted with social media, blogs, posting. And when a URL is found, it will be appended with a social piece of information that will influence what that consumer or what you will do in terms of your buying habits. Now, as I mentioned, this refinement is going to reduce the volume. But I think the important thing is to realize it's going to improve the quality of the visits. So you're going to need to do a better job of retaining patients. You know, in the previous years, going back as I looked at some of the information I was reviewing to prepare for this presentation, I realized we were talking about closure ratios that were approximating 66% of everyone that calls on a phone or comes in through the internet. You should be able to close that into an action where a patient comes in to buy or get a service. That number is not adequate anymore. I think you're going to have to up the game to more like 75, 80%. And I think it's justifiable because when a consumer is using the internet to find a cosmetic specialist or a cosmetic service, the internet knows more about you, the provider. They know more about the shopper. Therefore, the chances of closing that particular shopper into a consumer of your services has to increase. The second thing you want to realize is that, as I mentioned, the search algorithm has changed and will change completely by March. And that's what this whole consolidation of the confidentiality issues is all about. And by the way, if you look at some of the other search engine devices, I'm talking specifically about Facebook, I'm talking about some of the other organizations, they have always done this. Google is just making it an opportunity for them to use all the information they have about you, they've been gathering about you, if you're logged in to use their services, to give them a better competitive advantage against Facebook. Freshness of content. That's what the search engines, not just Google, will be focusing on. They want to know more about your specifics, about your social trends, about your ethnicity, about your age, about your sex, what gender you're in, so that they can give you, quote, a better search experience. And because they're creating these circles, they are able to not just get information that you might be making comments about a doctor, or your friends in your circle may be making comments or adding reviews about a doctor, and that doctor could be you, and before you know it, you'll begin to see comments that have been made both in a social context. I'm talking blogs, I'm talking about entries on Facebook, I'm talking about tweets. But in addition to those comments associated with your practice and your practice name, you'll see these comments integrated into the search result. Now, don't get mad at me. I didn't make this happen, but this is the direction things are moving. And as I said, the early adapters are going to be the winners. The people that are the late starters that aren't as committed to using search AdWords, that aren't committed to using just raw SEO, they're going to move quickly into this area that we are calling social media, and they're going to have instantaneously better positions. The later adapters that are sitting back and saying, well, I'm getting what I need, so I'll wait until it happens, I think could wind up being roadkill.
You've heard Greg talk about all the changes that are happening in Google. We've talked about some of the best practices. One more biggie here, what you need to request, what you need to expect from your internet service provider. I think Greg made a few references to this up front, but you need to make sure that your internet service provider is a specialist in the industry that you're serving, that they are a specialist in the cosmetic surgery, the med spa industry. That helps you maximize your opportunities. Now, how does that do that? Well, let's just take a look. You have all kinds of changes in technology. We've just shared with you a couple of changes that Google has made. Facebook is always making, a few changes. New channels. Google Plus has just rolled out business pages not long ago. These are important for you to stay at the top, to stay ahead of your competition. Your ISP should be bringing these to you so that you know, because do you have time to watch the internet at the same time that you're running a practice? It's difficult to. Access to social media accounts, very, very important. Gain insights from that. So if your ISP can look at some of those insights, if they can look at what you're doing, if you do video marketing and you're putting a YouTube out there, so many times people forget in the description that you've got to have tags so people can find it. You've got to have hyperlinks, the doctor's name, contact information. Then they take that another step. You put it on Facebook. You embed it there. You don't see that description. Do I even know who's in there? I do if your ISP told you to make sure you've got the contact information, the practice and doctor's names. So, important thing to do to maximize your search engine optimization. Now let's take another look at one more thing that we want to expect from ISP. They should be bringing you information about Google. Google is a major player, so they should be counseling you on what works for your business. Do you need +1 on your web pages? Do you need a Google blog? Do you need a Google Plus business profile? What's going to work for you? So when you're establishing a plan, you know which of these to use, which of them to say, I'm okay without it. You don't have to spend the time or the money to try to keep up with it if you have a good plan in place. Fresh content is still critical in search engine optimization. So if your ISP is familiar with your industry, they can actually bring information to you. If there's an article in Wall Street Journal, they can shoot it out so that you can use that information for blogs and posts and tweets, whatever that you're doing. You can also be prepared when patients come in to talk to you that day and they ask about it.
Kathy, I want to point out, for those of you that are, most of you are clients, and there's quite a few people that aren't clients that are on this line right now. You have seen for the last 24 months, you've been getting updates in terms of what's in the news, things you need to know, and we're going to be even doing more of it. The message I want to make, and not to really praise the work we've done, we want to say, do something about it. If you don't know what to do about it, call us, because we're managing clients all over the country and we can give you some tips and tricks that are being used by other people. But this is a time we've got to be awake and we've got to watch these things.
That's a good point, Greg. Let's talk about your online reputation. Hopefully your ISP would be providing you with 3 to 5 patient comment sites, because you need to know what's being said out there. You need to be able to address those questions when people come in. And hopefully they would be keeping up with technology so they could refer systems that can automate positive reviews that, like patient approved. Greg's already mentioned that there was a webinar last week where Dr. Summers taught through the patient approved. Fabulous system that is very automated, can make a world of difference. So if you haven't seen that, please do. It's on the site, on PUMC site, patientapproved.html, or go to where you registered for the webinar. All of this comes down to saying social media isn't a toy. You've always heard lots of people are playing with social media, and it's a place to play. It started out there, and it's grown to where it's a very effective business model now. It continues to grow. It continues to change at just an astounding rate. But people are really using it more and more every day to make buying decisions. And why is that? Because the results are personalized, because they're localized, because it's easy access and they trust what their friends are saying, so they make those buying decisions like that. Today's Google and social media let you create a more personalized experience for your patients, and that's where the world is moving to. That's the engagement and connection on multiple levels that people now want. So that means you have to take it to the next level. You have to engage with your patients. When you are engaging, part of this is people don't want to read a lot anymore. They want to get information in little snippets, little bite-sized pieces. So you explain what you do. You explain it again. And when it connects, they become an evangelist for you. Very much like the coin that, or the phrase that Greg coined several years ago, a practice deputy. You get the right people engaged, they are your practice deputies everywhere. They are spreading the word about you, so you have help in your marketing. So technology brings us lots of different ways that we can market, very effective ways. But you also have to be engaged. You can't just create it and step back. It's a difference, a positive difference in your online reputation and results.